Yes, folks, hello, welcome once again to MoDXtra Games and Collectibles. It's time for another action figure review here on the channel. And as you can see on the screen in front of you, today's installment is going to be all about the new G.I. Joe Classified Series Law and Order set. So stick around, I'm going to give you all the ins and outs, ups and downs that you need to know about this set. So if you've been thinking about picking one up for yourself, you can make a good, solid decision. Going to give you loads of thorough details so that you know whether Law and Order is worth your hard-earned cash or not. And I'm going to begin by giving you a rundown of the packaging. If you're minting box or you just want to know about the peg presents, then get into the figures themselves, talk about the aesthetic and the visual experience of the pair of them, then talk about the articulation and posability, and then give you a rundown of all the accessories and added value. And with all that said and done, you should have plenty to make your mind up about whether you want to pick up a Law and Order or not. So let's get into it and let's dive back in time to visit past Chris, who's taking a look at the box on the day it arrived on his doorstep. Here we go. All right then, folks, well, here is Law and Order in packaging then, and again, it's the same old standard G.I. Joe Classified Series packaging setup. So, you know, if you're minting box, at least it'll look consistent with your last bundle of releases. We've got the window showing off the figure, the name up there, G.I. Joe Christopher Law, Levine, and Order. G.I. Joe Classified Series logo at the bottom there. He's a G.I. Joe character. He's a Joe, so he's got the Joe symbol. Then on the back, got a digital render scene showing Law and Order in action. That's a little Easter egg there, folks. So if you're interested to know what that's depicting, what that Easter egg is representing, then head on over to my most recent Easter egg video to check that out. He's number 157 in line. A few breakout windows there showing off a few key features on the figure. Legal bollocks and malarkey across the bottom. Then the file card here in the corner. Let's learn a little bit about Law and Order together, shall we, folks? So we've got this little shield with a star in it there because he's a policey man. Then we've got a pile of bullets because he keeps piles of bullets. Then we've got a sword and a key, which don't feature on the figure at all. He has neither a sword nor a key. That is evident, at least. He might have a key in one of his pouch pockets. And then finally a paw print because, you know, there's a creature companion. There's a dog in there. Yeah, all right, I'll confess, folks. We've seen these loads of times and I'm starting to run out of jokes. They're not jokes, though. They're legitimate. They're legitimate file card breakdowns that I do normally. And then we got some real janky-ass artwork here on the side of the box. I mean, look at Law's face there for a start. What the hell's going on there? And what the fuck is happening with Order's leg down here? That's just weird. Just so disproportionate and not right. Further evidence that they are AI generating this artwork because what's going on with this jawline and this weird janky paw? I'm seriously unimpressed, Hasbro. On the other side, got the number again, got the file card again, sepia tone version of the janky artwork, and then the QR code to nowhere. And there you go, there's the packaging and the peg presents situation, folks. So if you're minting box or you're just interested to know what the experience is like, there you are. As always, though, I'm going to go away and break this bad boy open, get good and hands-on with the figure, get some good man-child playtime in, do some posing, get him out on some displays with some figures. I'm digging out the Rawhides for sure. See how he fits, see how he feels, gather up some review thoughts. So stick around, Future Chris is going to share those review thoughts with you in 3, 2, 1. Okay, folks, we'll move into the review section of the video. Start with the aesthetic, the visual experience, and I'll begin with Law, and then we'll take a look at Order in a second. Here he is, head to toe, nice head to toe look of the full figure for you, and strong vintage inspiration, vintage figure inspiration in here, with the blue vest, the green pants. I know there's some dispute over the orange or the red or whatever of the t-shirt that I could give no fucks about. But overall, he's largely inspired by the vintage figure, the original design, with the holster piece here and the badge up on his chest over there. If I remember rightly, the vintage figure, the original design, he had his vest unzipped. It was loose. Whereas obviously here on this figure, they've chosen to have it zipped up. I think this is mostly a practical thing from a design point of view because the body underneath is mostly Outback, I think. Outback's legs and Outback's core body with the rolled up sleeves there and Outback's arms and then just, you know, with a vest piece popped over the top and a different head. Bringing him a bit nearer to the camera so we can see some of the finer details. The head sculpt's okay. It's not my favourite head sculpt of late, to be honest, but it's all right. It just seems a little bit wide and flat. But Law was sort of square-jawed and wide-faced on the original Hector Greedo artwork, so I suppose that's all right. But, you know, the facial features are well sculpted. they're all there. The paint applications around things like the lips, the eyes, the eyebrows, all present and correct. Decent sculpt on the hair as well. Lovely. It's a good head sculpt, really. It just doesn't suit my personal preferences, I don't think. And then moving down into the body, we can see we've got these kind of extra embellishments, like his radio there, his radio communicator, which is fitted on the top of his vest. Paint application on his MP badge there. The different colours, you can see there's some darker blues and some paint applications on the zips and stuff. And then over on his arm here, we've got this little armband with MPK9 military police written on it. He doesn't have a backpack, but he's got some nice detail down the back of the vest as well. You can see the different textures in there and the different colour tones. While around the back, you can see some extra stuff going on with this belt around the top here. So he's got one set of handcuffs, although there is an accessory set of handcuffs that fit in this section here that we'll have a look at in a few moments. It's got a torch there and pouches and stuff, all with the sculpted studs and what have you. One of my usual criticisms that regulars around these parts will know, I could have just done with maybe a little bit of paint application here on the belt buckle. There's a little digital watch, and there's a little digital watch face been painted on there as well. We got the standard kind of pants there. Like I say, I think these are Outbacks, and got that textured detail in there, giving it a bit of depth and a bit of character. He's got a thigh holster for his Uzi, and then a little thigh pouch, carry pouch here. Again, sculpted details, but no paint applications. The boots look, booty. Once again, as often is the case for G.I. Joe Classified, they've kind of gone from a nice symmetrical construction of the figure, particularly with things like colour schemes and stuff, so there's balance that makes it easy on the eye with things like the thigh pouches and holster, the knee pads and such like, which is lovely to see, but obviously with some extra embellishments like the armband. It's all good. There's not a great deal else to say. It's the Outback Buck with a different head and a vest over the top. He looks like Law. As I recall him, my main association with Law is from the comic books and from the G.I. Joe the movie, and I look at that and I go, that's Law. That's exactly what you want. But he's only 50% of the gang here, of course, because then there's also Order making up this duo, this active duo. Big old German Shepherd here. The main core body is the sort of standard doggy body, but they've obviously done some different stuff with Order here. But to speak aesthetically, obviously we've got the different colour tones in here, the darker browns, the lighter browns, and then some kind of shaded sections to give it some, or give him some depth and some variety in there. The legs look a little plasticky, but that's fine, and obviously they're still pinned at this point in time, but that's okay. He obviously comes with this kind of doggy combat vest thing and a collar piece with MPK9 written on it, and on the front there as well, which adds to the kind of more tactical, trained military nature of Order. You can see he's got these peg holes in his vest. There's nothing in the set that I think is particularly for these peg holes, but I did grab like the pouches from, I think that's from the 60th anniversary Marine, or maybe it's Doc, one of the two. The ones on the side are a bit shallow for holding the stuff in, but you can put some bits on the top. So I suppose there's room for a bit of experimentation. I've not used those at all, though. But overall, it's okay looking. You've got handles and collars and stuff, and different sculpted details in there to bring it to life. And then the face sculpt here is the, this is the one that comes out of the packet. There's another one that we'll have a look at when we do the accessories in a minute, but that kind of tongue out, happy doggy, friendly face sort of Order here. It's all right. The face looks a bit, I can't put my finger on it, but something doesn't quite sit right with me in terms of the face. I can't fully put my finger on it, but fundamentally there's nothing wrong with it. It's well engineered, good paint applications on the tongue and the teeth and stuff, and around the eyes. I think that might be it, actually. The eyes are just a bit too, I don't know, maybe a bit too much, bit much, but the overall aesthetic's not problematic, just that kind of goofy face looks goofy, maybe. I think that's all it is. I'm just not into the goofiness of him. So overall, they're fine. The visual experience is okay. It's a thumbs up. I mean, I wouldn't say the most dynamic or exciting characters, but they have stuck quite rigidly to the original OG design and aesthetic of the characters, and that's okay. They seem to be doing that a lot in G.I. Joe Classified at the minute. They've certainly not reinterpreted it in any great, meaningful way, but that's all right. The flash of red is a nice little splash of colour for the G.I. Joe side of your shelf to mix things up in amongst your military greens and blacks and khakis and what have you. Yeah, it's fine. It's okay. I just sometimes find it a little bit harder to get excited about the ones that are kind of core military-focused look and design. or in this case, a military law enforcement-y aesthetic. But that's cool. He's one of the toy soldiers. So there we go. All right, well, there's the aesthetic, the visual experience. Let's now talk about the articulation, shall we? And just a quick reminder, folks, as always, I've put the chapters in down below. So if you're less interested in seeing the articulation, you're familiar with what the creature companions and the figures in G.I. Joe Classified are like, you can jump ahead and see the accessories and added value section of the review. But if you would like to know more about the articulation, stick around, I'll walk you through it, and I'm going to start with order this time. So getting started at the head here, it's a ball at the base of the skull on a longish rod there, which means you've got range of motion here all around the head and can cycle it all around at the top of the neck. And then further down, you can probably see it moving then when I was moving it, there's another articulation point at the base of the neck. So you've got that kind of turning kind of shape ability. Then moving further down into the body, we've got another point of articulation here, just on the underside of the belly there. Again, just adding to that movement and motion, and that's on a ball, so you've got a swivel in here too. And then all the way to the back, the tail is pegged in on a hinge, so you can angle it up, swivel it round, again, do your sort of doggy tail shapes as you see fit. The front legs here, as you can see, are pegged and hinged in. There's a very small range of motion in and out like so, and then you can obviously use the swivel to bring it forward like that. Then we've got three hinges in total down the leg, one here at the elbow, one here at the wrist, and then one here at the base of the paw, which means you can, bend various kind of shapes. Put him running, put him standing, etc., etc. And then the legs at the back, obviously slightly different shape in them, but the same core concept. Got the hinge and ball there at the hips, pegged in and hinged at the equivalent of the knee, so you can sort of swivel it and bend it. Got the pinned one here at the ankle equivalent, and then a hinge and rocker at the paw. Then on to lore, and it's the standard G.I. Joe Classified series. Head articulation, got the ball at the base of the skull, ball at the base of the neck. The down is okay, but the up is a little bit restricted, obscured by this high collar on the back of his tactical vest, as is the swivel. Or it has the capacity to go all the way around, and there's a lot of movement in there, but you can't go right the way back. But you could, if you force it like I just did. Then moving down into the shoulder, it's the butterfly joint there, giving you some shuffle forward and back. Peg and hinge in the shoulder and armpit, giving you all the way around, and then you can get the arms out to a T-shape like so. Swivel here at the top of the bicep and tricep. Pinless double elbow, that'll get you up to there. And then pegged in hands at the wrist that swivel all the way around, and you can see there we've got a hinge coming in and out on these ones for the figure as he's come out of the packaging. Then into the torso, got the hinge across the middle there and the ball joint at the waist. The hinge at the middle can be used despite the vest over the top, because it's got that slightly higher cut here, allowing you to do some forward and back with him, and then you can swivel and move and rotate in the ball at the waist. Standard drop down hinges on the hips there with the balls at the edge, giving you a bit of extra motion, but you can go forward like so, go out to the Russian ballet like that, further if the torch wasn't getting in the way. Got the swivel at the top of the thigh, double knee, that'll get you up to there, swivel at the top of the boot cut there, and the hinge and rocker in the ankles. So the articulation is sound, thumbs up. It's standard G.I. Joe Classified series stuff, both in terms of lore as an action figure and as a person figure, and order as a canine figure. There's no particular quirks. There's no revolutionary change from what we've seen before with classified figures and classified creature companions. All good. I've not had any trouble bringing my imagination to life, getting them posed up in scenes and ways that I wanted to get them posed up with. So all good on that front. Okay, so there's the articulation. Let's now take a closer look at the accessories. And kicking us off, we've got Lore's MP helmet here, his striking white MP helmet. Obviously a key part of the character's visual identity and kind of another colour in the palette. A nice sculpt, it's fine. It sits all right on the top of his head, although you do sometimes have to sort of finesse it to keep it straight. Big MP symbol across the front. One nice touch. Just dim the lighting a little bit so that it's not reflecting so much off his helmet, but can you see all these kind of scuff marks and dents and things to sort of showing that he's been in the thick of the action. There's been stuff going on, which is a nice little touch of flavour. Then we have his nightstick here, or what we would call over here in the UK his truncheon. It's fine, you know, single piece of molded plastic. Got the 2 grips there, the 2 different handles, as per the real world design. All fine and dandy, and obviously a core piece of equipment for someone who has a kind of law enforcement-y type role. You can store this on the figure itself. There's a little belt loop in here that you can see, and you can slide it through there like so. And it's fine. It kind of wobbles and flips about a bit. It's a bit awkward. I must admit, I've not been using it, but it's there. And while we're on kind of law enforcement related equipment, there's a second set of handcuffs. This time a set of handcuffs that are not molded onto the figure that you can use as accessories. These are fine. They look a bit plasticky, but you know, you can identify them quite easily as handcuffs. You can take pop hands at the wrist of figures to pop them on as well, so they're usable for photos and scenes that you might want to take. Yeah, they've just got a bit of a plasticky vibe. Again, there is storage on the figure for this piece as well, although it's a bit shaky, this one. I pointed out this pouch earlier when I was showing off the figure, and you have to kind of fold them over and slide them in. I don't know if you can see there, it's just not a fab fit. It's got this kind of cutaway point here to help you slide them in and out, of course, but it just looks a bit bulky and a bit chunky and a bit silly, especially next to the ones with the more metallic paint job that are sculpted onto the figure. So yeah, we're not the biggest fan of that bit, to be honest. Then moving into his weapons loadout, he's got an Uzi here. It's the, you know, we've seen it before, Snake Eyes' Uzi, Kamakura, etc., etc. This one's got a little bit of paint application here, some of the green that almost matches up with his trouser legs, which is fine, single piece of molded plastic. And of course, kitting him out with an Uzi is just kind of acknowledging the Uzi submachine gun that came with the original vintage figure. You can also store this on the figure. He's got a holster on his thigh there, which you can slide the Uzi into like so, which is fine. I'm not a fan of this at all. You can see down the side here, it just makes it really bulky, gets in the way of the articulation. I'm not sure what that decision was all about, but it's there nonetheless. Then we have his pistol. We've seen this before. It's turned up a number of times in the line, just kind of like a standard little 9mm type thing. Which is cool. Single piece of molded plastic, got sculpted details in there. It's decent, it's fine. And again, this can be stored on the figure too. He's got his holster there on his tactical vest with one of those little pop studs there that you flick up and then slide in like so. Just while I'm on the holster there, I mentioned before, I'm not the biggest fan of these kind of rubbery pop studs. This one's actually not too bad. It latches down and doesn't pop out too much at all, which is great, because that's my criticism really, is that they pop loose all the time. When I think about my Copperhead, for example, his is always popping loose. But there is another kind of rubbery pop stud item that's kind of accessory but not accessory in the radio, because you can remove the radio from the vest like so, using a similar little pop stud that fits into the corner there, and pop it in his hand and have him talking into it and stuff. And that one is a little trickier to pop in and out of. It is a bit awkward. What I found is I had to sort of squeeze the vest to put it in, to increase the sort of size of the hole to get it in there, and then release it so that it clamps back around. And then finally on the weapon loadout, we got a little knife. I think this has turned up loads in the line. Got the metallic paint job on the blade, which I'm always grateful of, and then just got your little handle and all that. It's all good and well. This doesn't appear to have storage on the figure, and unless I'm losing my mind, I've had him for a week now, and I've looked and thought, like, is there a secret little knife sheath somewhere that I'm missing or not identifying? But he's been given a knife that doesn't appear to have any storage on him whatsoever. We then have a wide selection of hand swaps. You can see 3 here for the right hand, 3 here for the left hand, all in kind of different compositions, primarily to replicate kind of, dog commands, law-giving commands to order there. So like the point, and it's got like a little feeding him a treat kind of finger pinch and pointing and open palm and stuff. But obviously these can also be used and replicated like this one here I've been using as a saluting hand, and the closed fist is also, obviously classic Yo-Jo stuff. So always great to have a selection of hand swaps like this. These obviously serve a particular purpose, because they're supposed to replicate those hand gestures to command your companion, but you can use them in all sorts of ways. And because they're in this kind of plain skin colour and built around the Outback book, they can go in your bits box, and you can use them across a couple of other characters as well, which is nice. Then moving on to order, we have a head swap for order here, which is the kind of mouth open bitey, growly kind of situation. Again, it's all right. I think the eyes are a bit too big still. But overall, like in terms of basic components, it's there. The teeth are well painted, the gums and the tongue and everything. The paint applications are applied well. It looks like he's a snarling, biting German Shepherd for sure. It's all good. So if you're looking for something more of an in-action shot, instead of the other one there, which is a more kind of chilled out man's best friend kind of shot, then you've got it here. Laura also has a set of protective headgear here that I've popped on the figure. I've got to confess, I find it a bit of a faff to get on and off over the years. It is soft plastic, kind of rubbery, so you can sort of pinch it to get down and over and manipulate it on. But there's an knack to it that, I don't know, challenges me. I'm probably unique in that, but that's fine. But you can see it's got sculpted details in there. Got the little visor section over his eyes to protect his eyes, like a little torch or something on the front here for hunting out explosives or sniffing out drugs or whatever. So that's all good, and it certainly adds to that sort of aesthetic quality of the figure there. Makes him definitely look a lot more kind of tactical in nature alongside this big old tactical vest that he's wearing. So it's a nice touch. Oh, yeah, it's a decent accessory selection. It's a thumbs up. I mean, it's certainly all on theme, and it's the kind of stuff you would want to use with these two characters to bring them to life and do some stuff with the way you display them, photograph them, etc., etc. Is it the most exciting accessory selection? No. But, you know, we've been spoiled a bit lately with, like, massive broadswords with Dartlon and crystal balls with crystal ball and the like, you know, and Cthulhu heads and stuff. So it's not, you know, it's not groundbreaking, and it's all mostly reuse, but it's fine. It suits the characters and it allows you to do what you're trying to do with the characters. So while I find it hard to get a little overexcited about the accessory selection, it's certainly added value. All right, well, there we go. There's the accessory rundown. Let's now take a look at this pair next to a couple of other G.I. Joe classified characters, shall we? Okay, well, here is Law and Order with Beachhead. Mr. Predictable here. The first thing I did was threw together a Rawhides G.I. Joe the movie related display. Here he is with a missile carrying Chuckles. And here they are with the rest of the Rawhides that exist in the line right now. Bring on Big Lob 2026, Jinx, Falcon with a head swap from the Night Force version, Tunnel Rat, and of course the Law and Order guys. And here's the pair of them then, folks, going round on the turntable so you can get a nice 360 view of both the characters here. And while you're eyeballing that, I'll offer up some final thoughts. And yeah, it's a good set. It's okay. It's fine. I think you can probably tell through the course of the review that I've found it hard to get too excited about this pair. But that's not really in criticism of the figures. They're just good, solid, well put together slabs of G.I. Joe classified. There's no two ways about it. I'm just increasingly, as I mentioned in other reviews, getting more and more turned on by the weird shit in G.I. Joe and less turned on by the, you know, the soldiery, more what I would describe as the more pedestrian-y stuff. But it's a white church, the white church of G.I. Joe, and there's something for everyone. And I'm very happy to have him in my collection. I'm very fond on G.I. Joe the movie, and I'm very fond on the Rawhides. So the fact that the roster has had a little boost is, you know, very satisfying to me. It's just, you know, an Outback book with a different head on it and a very striking scuffed up helmet. That's all there is to say. So yeah, there you go. That's my thoughts on Law and Order, folks. Hope you found that useful. If you did, of course, then please do hit the subscribe button, do the thumbs up, like, and all that malarkey. If you didn't like it, then make sure you hit the dislike button twice to ensure it worked, okay? But yeah, that's it. Swing back around for another video sometime soon. I've got a couple of other pre-orders on the way, so there'll be plenty of other G.I. Joe Classified Series coverage on the channel. But in the meantime, have yourself a great day, have yourself a great week, and I'll see you next time. All right, take it easy, folks.